بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما تعلمنا وزدنا بفضلك علما وتعليما إنك على كل شيء قدير. So inshallah starting here, it says, whoever obeys the messenger has truly obeyed Allah. But whoever turns away, then know that we have not sent you, O Prophet, as a keeper over it. They're not responsible. And they say, we obey, but when they leave you, a group of them would spend the night contradicting what they say. Allah records all their schemes, i.e. Hypocrites. So turn away from them and put your trust in Allah. Allah is a sufficient, as a trustee of all affairs. Do they not reflect on the Quran? Had it been from anyone other than Allah, they would have certainly found it many inconsistencies. So this is again munafiqeen. And when they hear news of security or fear, they publicize it, meaning they share your war plans. Had they referred it to the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, to other authorities, those with sound judgment among them would have validated it. Had it not been for Allah's grace and mercy, you would have followed Satan, except for a very few. So again, we never look down upon other people, because were it not for Allah's grace and mercy, every single one of us would follow the shaitan. So fight in the cause of Allah, O Prophet. You are accountable for none but yourself, and motivate the believers to fight. So perhaps Allah will curb the disbelievers' might, and Allah is far superior in might and in punishment. And whoever intercedes for a good cause will have a share in the reward, and whoever intercedes for an evil cause will have a share in the burden. And Allah is watchful over all things. When you are greeted, i.e. with Assalamu alaikum, respond with a better greeting or at least similar, right? So if somebody says Assalamu alaikum to you, I'd say Wa alaikum salam. Then it's recommended to say Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And it says, Allah, there is no God worthy of worship except Him. He will certainly gather you all together on the day of judgment, about which there is no doubt. And whose word is more truthful than Allah's? Why are you believers divided into two camps regarding the hypocrites, while Allah allowed them to regress to disbelief because of their misdeeds? Do you wish to guide those left by Allah to stray? So some people are basically teaming up with the munafiqeen because it's confusing, right? They're on your side, but they're not. And whoever Allah leaves to stray, you will never find for them a way. So in general, adab, should we associate ourselves with irreligious people? The answer is no, right? So we give to these people, we do not take from these people. Meaning, you go and help them when you can, but you keep a distance. Because if you hang out with irreligious people, you will become irreligious. That's how it works. So you have to give to these people, visit them occasionally, spend limited time with them, give them advice, but don't take from them. And when you find that you're taking from them, avoid them. They wish you would disbelieve as they have disbelieved, so that you will all be alike. So do not take them as allies unless they immigrate in the cause of Allah. But if they turn away, then seize them, kill them wherever you find them, and do not take any of them as allies or helpers. Except those who are allies of a people you are bound with in a treaty, or those wholeheartedly opposed to fighting either you or their own people. If Allah had willed, He would have empowered them to fight you. So if they refrain from fighting you and offer you peace, then Allah does not permit you to harm them. You will find others who wish to be safe from you and their own people, yet they cannot resist the temptation of disbelief or hostility. If they do not keep away, offer you peace, or refrain from attacking you, then seize them and kill them wherever you find them. We have given you full permission over such people. It is not lawful for a believer to kill another except by mistake. And whoever kills a believer unintentionally must free a believing slave and pay blood money. So basically, what happens when you kill somebody, a Muslim, there's two things that's happening. One, you've violated something which is very great. Um, the other thing then, you've violated something that's great. So there's a right between you and Allah that has to be fulfilled because you violated something sacred. The other thing then is blood money. So if you accidentally kill somebody, you cannot be killed for that, but you do pay blood money, right? Um, um, Khair. So that's basically between you and Allah. There's an expiation of freeing a slave. So basically, you've taken life, so you have to give new life to somebody. Just give me 1 second, please. My apologies. Um, so there's blood money, which is so you can't have somebody who accidentally kills somebody cannot be killed, but the blood money still stands, right? Unless they waive it charitably. So what does that mean? That means that murder is not a had punishment. Okay, what is a had punishment? Is an unforgivable crime against society that has to be punished with a very fixed and specific punishment, right? So somebody commits zina, their spouse, for example, may Allah protect us, may feel wronged, but they didn't wrong their spouse. They wronged themselves and they wronged society. So it's not like their spouse can say, "Oh, it's okay, I forgive my husband or I forgive my wife." It's not like that. It doesn't work like that, right? Theft. Somebody steals from you. I mean, you can just not take them to court, but once it's gone to court, you can't forgive them. Their hand has to be cut off because it's a right of society. So with murder, though, it is not the right of society. Somebody murders your father, may Allah protect us all. You have a right for them to be executed, or for them to pay blood money, or you can just forgive them, right? It's the same here. If somebody accidentally kills somebody in family, they can just forgive it. And that's it, done. But the right, the relationship between them and Allah, they still have to free a slave. But if the victim is a believer from a hostile people, then a believing slave must be freed. And if the victim is from a people bound with you in a treaty, then blood money must be paid to the family along with freeing a believing slave. Those who are unable, let them fast 2 consecutive months as means of recompense, right? So you can imagine buying a human being would be quite expensive. So some people can't afford that. And then what would you do then? Is you would fast 2 consecutive months. Now, one thing to point out is when you say it's accidental, drunk driving is not considered accidental, right? Speeding is not considered accidental. So you were speeding and you killed somebody, it's considered intentional. Or drunk driving, still considered. You know, if you got drunk and you accidentally killed somebody, it counts as intentional. So whatever you do when drunk, may Allah protect us, counts as if you did it intentionally. And whoever kills a believer intentionally, their reward will be hell, wherein they will stay indefinitely. So somebody who intentionally kills a believer will go to hellfire forever. Why is that a bit surprising? Why is that a bit strange? If you kill a Muslim intentionally, you go to hellfire forever. Why does that sound odd? Who's here today? Said, Ab, Mr. Navia, Afsa, Mia, Ashar. Why does that sound strange? Okay, so going to hell, hell is only for eternal hell is only for kuffar. Uh-huh. Yeah, so that's what it says there, right? And whoever kills a believer intentionally, their reward will be hell, wherein they will stay indefinitely. So what do you think? Could be. Indefinite could be a long time. Okay. What else could be implied as well? So what's the difference between somebody who drinks alcohol thinking that it's haram, knowing that it's haram, and somebody who drinks alcohol saying it's okay, it's not that bad? What's the difference? Right? So if somebody says they drink alcohol and they're like it's not actually haram, it's actually halal, it's okay. Hmm. So somebody if somebody believes it's kufr, right? It's disbelief. So if you believe a sin to be halal, that's disbelief, right? That's disbelief. So here, that's what we're going to say. We're going to say it would be awfully strange if somebody murdered somebody and they leave the deen, right? That's a bit strange. So we're going to say whoever kills a believer, saying that is permissible, or kills him because of his faith, right? You're killing him because of his faith, because you hate Islam, right? So you kill it as an act of kufr, right? Or saying that it's a halal, their reward would be hell, wherein they stay in there indefinitely. Otherwise, murder would be disbelief, and murder is not disbelief. Okay? So very, very, very important thing, right? Very, very important thing. People say follow the Quran and Sunnah, and that's true. Okay? But extremism and sectarianism, it only comes from what people doing following a particular verse or a particular hadith literally and ignoring everything else. That's where it comes from. So we look at this verse in light of the fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Inna Allah لا يغفر أن يشرك به ويغفر دون ذلك لمن يشاء. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Allah does not forgive shirk, but He forgives anything else for whomever He wills. Right? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has told us that. So I take this verse in the light of that verse, and it's all fine. But if I take this verse by itself, then if you kill a Muslim, you're a kafir. Yeah. So we're going to say, whoever kills a believer intentionally, holding that it is halal to kill him, then he will have left Islam and that his reward will be hell. That's not the obvious understanding of the verse, but that's the only understanding of the verse we could take in light of the other verse. So we have to take the whole Quran and Hadith together, and it all makes sense. Otherwise, you take one little thing by itself, you're gonna have a problem. Exactly. So as Har mentioned, that's the belief of the Khawarij. So the Khawarij, they said, no, if you commit a major sin, you have left Islam. So if you don't pray, the Prophet ﷺ said, right, there's nothing between a believer and shirk apart from me missing the prayer. So you miss the prayer, you become a mushrik. The Prophet ﷺ said, by Allah, he does not believe. By Allah, he does not believe. By Allah, he does not believe. And they said, who, O Messenger of Allah? Said, the one who does not protect his neighbor from his evils. The Prophet ﷺ said, none of you truly believe. None of you believe. He didn't say truly believe. He says, none of you believe until you love for your brother what you love for yourself. Okay, I don't love for my brother what I love for myself. Okay, you're not a believer then. So you take it literally, and you have a huge problem. Right? Then what happens then is various sins of the body or sins of the heart all count as kufr. And basically, there's very, very few people who are actually Muslims. Right? And you get to this sectarian way of looking at things, where like nobody's a Muslim. Right? The Prophet ﷺ said, as somebody who commits adultery does not commit adultery while being a Muslim. Right? Somebody who steals does not steal while being a Muslim. So therefore, if I take the hadith as it is, that sounds like you leave Islam by stealing. So this is the position of the Khawarij, also position of the Mu'tazila. The Mu'tazila, they said, no, it's not true. You're not a kafir, but you're not a believer, that's for sure. They said, you're not a believer. If when you commit a major sin, you're not a believer. This is also the position of the Shia. So they say so imagine if for a Mu'tazili or or the Shia or the Khawarij, if you got drunk and then died drunk, you would go to hellfire forever. If you committed zina and then didn't repent, you go to hellfire forever. If you missed a prayer and didn't repent, you go to hellfire forever. You're a kafir. Does it make sense? So it's a very important thing. Yes, the verse, you read a verse, I need to look at this hadith in the context of the whole of the deen. Take this hadith in the context of the whole of the deen. Take this verse in the context of the whole of it. Right? Don't just take one thing. Okay, Allah would be displeased with them, condemn them, and they will prepare for them a tremendous punishment. O believers, when you struggle in the way of Allah, be sure of who you fight. Don't just kill random people. And do not say to those who offer you greetings of peace, you're not a believer, seeking a fleeting worldly gain. Instead, Allah has infinite bounties in store. You were initially like them, then Allah blessed you with Islam. So be careful who you're fighting. Indeed, Allah is all aware of what you do. Those who stay at home, except those with valid excuses, are not equal to those who strive in the way of Allah with their wealth and their lives. Allah has elevated in rank those who strive with their wealth and their lives above those who stay with valid excuses. Allah has promised each a fine reward, but those who strive will receive a far better reward than others. Far superior ranks forgiveness and mercy from Allah. Right? This is all indefinite in the Arabic. A forgiveness and a mercy. doesn't say war-rahma, it says wa-rahma. Some unfathomable mercy and some unfathomable forgiveness. And Allah is all forgiving, most merciful. When the angel sees the souls of those who have wronged themselves, scolding them, saying, "What do you think you were doing?" They will reply, we were oppressed in the land. We were forced to do that. We didn't have a choice, right? The angels will respond, was Allah's earth not spacious enough for you to emigrate, right? So this is, what does this apply to? 120% the screen. Oh, I just went to the gym, and like this is the gym I have. What am I supposed to do? I'm not responsible for the way the people dress at the gym. You can't go to another gym? Can't go somewhere else? You're gonna die if you work out at home, right? So many people that are like, oh, this is the situation I'm in, right? This is, that's how the person was dressed in the film that I was watching. So, well, don't watch it, right? Oh, that just came up on my feed. It's like, well, put image block on, right? So people they like to label themselves as not responsible. I didn't have a choice. You do have a choice, right? You do have a choice. You can go somewhere else. The angels will respond, was Allah's earth not spacious enough for you to emigrate? It is they who will have hell as their home, and what an evil destination. So notice many people are not sinister people, right? The sinister people are like really like, mashallah, these people are like really out there to do haram stuff. And there's others who just don't have the moral strength to resist. They're not out there to do bad stuff, but they just don't fight against the bad and they just give in to the bad. Okay? So there's so many people they look at bad people like the people who are actively out there to do bad. Yeah, but also people who don't resist the bad. So we should have left. You should have gone somewhere else. You should have done something. You didn't do anything. It is they who will have hell as their home and evil destination, except helpless men and women and children who cannot afford a way out. It is right to hope that Allah will pardon them, for Allah is ever pardoning for all forgiving. And whoever emigrates in the cause of Allah will find many safe havens and bountiful resources throughout the earth. Those who leave their homes and die emigrating to Allah and His Messenger, their reward has already been secured with Allah, and Allah is all forgiving, most merciful. When you travel through the land, it is permissible for you to shorten the prayer, especially, right, if you fear an attack by the disbelievers. So the word especially is not there in the Arabic, right? For which reason some of the Salaf they understood that shortening the prayer is something that was advocated after, right? It's not something specific to jihad, but it's not. That's traveling itself is an excuse to shorten the prayers. So important note, shortening prayers is mentioned in the prayer, joining prayers in the Quran, but joining prayers is not mentioned in the Quran anywhere. In fact, the opposite is mentioned. I'm not saying that's wrong, I'm just saying that it's not mentioned. Indeed, the disbelievers are your sworn enemies, right? So we can team up with disbelievers on certain things, but at the end of the day, they're not all going to become Muslim, and at the end of the day, they're not on your side. When you, O Prophet, are campaigning, fighting with them, and you lead them in prayer, let one group of them pray with you while armed. When they prostrate themselves, let the other group stand guard behind them. And when the group that has not yet prayed will join you in prayer, and let them be vigilant and armed. Right. So this is the issue of the Salat al-Khawf, right? So even in the context of jihad, the Prophet ﷺ is told, pray on time and pray in a group prayer. Pray on time and pray in the group prayer. So that means praying on time is important and praying the group prayer is very important, right? So even in the context of jihad, right? So if we said, oh, group prayer is just kind of ideal, then you don't need to do it now because it's okay. You're in jihad, you need to watch out for other people. But even in a life or death situation, still encouraged to pray the group prayer. Then the group that has not yet prayed will then join you in prayer, and let them be vigilant and armed. The disbelievers would wish to see you neglect your weapons and belongings, so they could launch a sweeping assault on you. But there is no blame if you lay aside your weapons when overcome by heavy rain or illness. But take precaution. Indeed, Allah has prepared a humiliating punishment for the disbelievers. When the prayers are over, remember Allah, whether you are standing, sitting, or lying down. But when you are secure, establish a prayer, i.e., standing. You've got to pray properly. Indeed, performing the prayers is a duty on the believers at appointed times, right? So this verse here, Inna salata kanat ala al-mu'minina kitab mawquta, right? The Prophet ﷺ mentioned it multiple times. The Quran is recited again and again and again. So in the minds of the Sahaba, everybody is familiar with the idea that you pray on time. Everybody's familiar with the idea that you pray on time, even if you're in battle. Everyone's familiar with the idea that you should pray in a group, even if you're in battle. Everyone's familiar with the idea of shortening prayers. This is all well known. Okay, this is all well known. Um, excuse me. It's all well known. The issue of joining prayers is not well known. It's not something that's well known at all. That's why the Hanafis don't accept it. This is something that it's not well established. Maybe that means something else. Prophet some delayed dhuhr till the end of one prayer and asr at the beginning of the prayer, something like that. Allahu Alam. So the way they look at it is, why would I abandon something well established and known for something that's less known? Right? It comes in certain hadiths. There's certain hadiths imply it. Right? All I'm saying is it's not here. Yeah. So imagine, so just imagine, if you can imagine the Quran and Hadith as one thing, right? And just imagine information that's repeated again and again and again and again and again, and you hear it again and again and again and again and again, and then you hear other things here and there. Which one would you go with? Something you hear here and there, or something you hear again and again, right? So it's the Quran is repeated again and again to the Sahaba. Some of them are reciting the whole Quran every week. Whereas now you go on Umrah and you meet somebody and say, "Oh yeah, you can." Somebody says, "Oh, my dad told me that the Prophet ﷺ joined prayers on a journey," right? So it makes sense to kind of question that, right? Like if you've never heard of it. It also makes sense to follow it because, you know, people don't lie, so it's possible as well, right? So you just have to understand that following a Sahih Hadith is not in when it kind of goes against something that's widespread is problematic. It's not 100% obvious. So certain people say, no, you just follow Sahih Hadith, right? But that's not necessarily always the case. We don't all do that. We just saw that we kind of ignored this verse of the Quran, right? So what we did here is we said, listen, what's well known in the deen is that a believer is a believer and a disbeliever is a disbeliever. End of story. Doesn't matter what you do, right? And so we understood this in light of something else. So why not the same thing? The Prophet joined prayers on a journey, meaning perhaps he delayed Dhuhr to the end of his time or prayed after the beginning of his time, something like that. Wallahu a'lam. Right? Now, the way of the Shafi'is and the Hanbalis is totally different. No, they say, well, the hadith is sahih. The Prophet, there's nothing wrong with that. You're confident about it. It is sahih. It's quite clear when you read the hadith. Okay, fine. So I'm not saying that it's wrong. I'm just trying to show both approaches. And so if you look about it here, these verses seem to go against the idea of joining. Because surely if you could join, why wouldn't it be mentioned here? Right? Like if you can join for travel, which is less dangerous than jihad, why is it that in jihad you pray on time? You know what I'm saying? It's a bit odd. Like imagine, for example, you're allowed to break your fast for a cold, but not for a fever. Like wouldn't that be a bit odd? Like if you saw a hadith, you can if somebody has a cold, you can break your fast, but you can't do it for a fever. I'm like, what? Like it's a bit strange, isn't it? So what I'm trying to say is, there's we have to understand the tricky predicament that scholars are in. If you go with the hadith, yeah. If you ignore the hadith, you're almost ignoring what the Prophet ﷺ said. Didn't we just say in the beginning, obey Allah, right? And His Messenger? Where was it? Right in the beginning. So whoever obeys the Messenger has truly obeyed Allah. There we go. And the hadith says that. But the question is not really obeying Allah and obeying the Messenger. It's just the issue of hadith. So most hadiths are just one person rating from one person the Prophet ﷺ said or did. So it's no way as clear and authentic as the Quran. I'm not trying to say it's false. I'm not saying that. I'm just trying to say that it's just not on the same level. Uh, do not falter in pursuit of your enemy. If you are suffering, they too are suffering. But you can hope to receive from Allah what they can never hope for, right? So you're both, in pain, difficulty, but difficult thing. Allah is all-knowing, all-wise. Indeed, we have sent down the book to you, O Prophet, to judge, in truth, to judge between people by means of what Allah has shown you. So do not be an advocate for the deceitful. And seek Allah's forgiveness. Indeed, Allah is all forgiving, all merciful. And do not advocate for those who wrong themselves. Right? So being a lawyer is problematic, right? It's one of these kind of communal obligations that are very, very dangerous to get involved into because, often you're going to be helping people do the haram or defending somebody who's a sinner or something like that. It's problematic. So, the safest thing to do in law is like be an advisor, like you advise people, this is how it works. You do conflict resolution, those kind of things. But like going into court often is going to be very, very problematic. Um, Allahu A'lam. But not all types of law, but many. Surely Allah does not like those who are deceitful and sinful. Give me a second, please. Okay, Bismillah. Um, they try to hide their deception from people, but they can never hide it from Allah, in whose presence they plot by night, right? When by night, what is displeasing to him? Right? Allah is fully aware of what they do. Here you are, you believers are advocating for them in this life, but who will dare to advocate for them before Allah on the Day of Judgment? So the issue is here of people siding with the munafiqeen and the kuffar, right? Shouldn't do that. who will come to their defense? Whoever commits evil or wrongs themselves, then seeks Allah's forgiveness will certainly find Allah all merciful, all forgiving, and all merciful. So we repeat the concept again and again and again. Nobody can possibly wrong you. You can only wrong yourself. Nobody can take anything away from you. Nobody can give you anything. Right? It's a really, really important thing to understand. Whoever commits evil or wrongs themselves, you can only wrong yourself. Nobody can take anything away from you. Nobody can give you anything. You can never miss out on anything apart from your own stubbornness to do what is good. Right? And whoever commits a sin, it is only their own loss. They can't harm you. It's their own loss. Allah is all-knowing, all-wise. Now, whoever commits an evil or sinful deed, then blames it on an innocent person, they will definitely bear the guilt of slander and blatant sin. Had it not been for Allah's grace and mercy, a group of them would have sought to deceive you, O Prophet. Yet they would deceive none but themselves, nor can they harm you in the least. Notice, same point, they can't harm you. Nobody can harm you. Allah has revealed to you the book and the wisdom and taught you that which you never knew. Great indeed is Allah's favor upon you. Excuse me. There is no good in most of their secret talks, except those encouraging charity, kindness, or reconciliation between people. And whoever does this, seeking Allah's pleasure, we will grant them a great reward. And whoever defies the messenger after guidance has become clear to them and follows a path other than that of the believers. Right? It's narrated. I'm not sure if it's true or not. That Imam Shafi'i was asked the question. He said, what's the proof in the Quran about consensus? And he said, give me a second or give me a day. So the man asked him the next day, he said, where is it in the Quran? He says, give me another day. On the third day, Imam Shafi'i, apparently, he said, it's this verse here. ومن يشاقق الرسول من بعد ما تبين له الهدى ويتبع غير سبيل المؤمنين نوله ما تولى ونصله جهنم وساءت مصيرا. Right, this verse here. And whoever defies the messenger after guidance has become clear to them and follows a path other than that of the believers. So the believers, they say, there's 5 daily prayers. You say, no, I think it's just 3. The believers, they say there's such thing as a sharia. You say, no, it's not like that. It's more like common sense. The Prophet showed us common sense, and you know everybody can kind of like follow that by themselves. You say, no, there's such thing as a sharia. It's not just common sense. So you come up with your own understanding of the deen that is other than the way of the believers. Okay? They disagree. They have position A, B, and C. You have position D. Right? This is haram. Right? So go against ijma. Right? Going against ijma. So we will let them pursue whatever they have chosen. Go ahead, knock yourself out. Then let them burn in hell, and what an evil end. So today we've seen basically kind of like 2 paths to become a deviant sect. One is to take a particular hadith or particular verse of the Quran and follow it literally in spite of all other hadith and all other verses of the Quran. That was one way. Another way is to go against consensus. Right? To go against consensus is a very dangerous thing to do. And there are a number of people who say some very funny things today. I'll just quote one of my students. She said, I asked Sheikh so-and-so about the hijab. And he said, the hijab is obligatory according to the former madhahibs. So when he says that, that means there's not consensus. The former madhahib are not the whole, is not the whole of the deen. So a very dangerous thing to say. What he's saying is the former madhahib say that hijab is obligatory, but there's other positions outside that don't say that, which is very, very dangerous. So today, when you find somebody following something that's outside the form of madhahib, it's very, very dangerous. It's a door to very, very kind of like creating a new deen. It's a very dangerous path. So, Allahu Alam. You know, the deen as we know it, the deen as we know it for the last 1,000 years has been Ash'ari, Maturidi in creed, Hanafi, Maliki, Shafi, and Hanbali in fiqh. That's the deen as we know it. You want to have something else? Go ahead, knock yourself out. That's fine. But that's not traditional Islam from Spain to China for the last 1,000 years. It's not just historically not the case, right? Allah, surely Allah does not forgive associating others with Him in worship, but forgives anything else of whatever He wills. Indeed, whoever associates others with Allah has certainly gone astray. So, right, this is the hadith, the ayah that we mentioned before. Instead of Allah, they only invoke female gods, the, and they actually invoke none but a rebellious Satan. Right, so the fake gods that they create are all kind of means to shaitans, all the same thing. Um, so who are these female gods? These are the daughters of Allah, right? That they invented, right? Who are the angels? The angels are in the for the mushrikeen were the daughters of Allah. And so these gods that they invented. Cursed by Allah, who said, I will surely take hold of a certain number of your servants. I will certainly mislead them and delude them with empty hopes. Right? Also, I will order them, and they will slit the ears of camels, of the cattle, and alter Allah's creation. Right? They will disfigure things, alter Allah's creation. Whoever takes Satan as a guardian instead of Allah has certainly suffered a tremendous loss. And one of the key tools the shaitan uses is fear and anxiety, right? Tells the sister, if you wear hijab, no men are going to notice you, and you're not going to get married, right? So if you do what Allah wants you to do, it's going to lead you to here. If you team up with the Muslims, the kuffar will get you. So team up with the kuffar against the Muslims, and you'll be strong. So anxiety, fear, right? It's a key thing, a key trick of the shaitan. I will miss out if I do what is right. Satan only makes them false promises and deludes them with empty hopes, right? Truly, Satan promised them nothing but delusion. It is they who will have hell as their home, and they will find no escape from it. And those who believe and do good, we will soon admit them into gardens underneath which rivers flow, to stay there for ever and ever. Allah's promise is always true, and whose word is more truthful than Allah's? To stay there forever and ever. Allah's promise is always true, and whose word is more true than Allah's? Divine grace is neither by your wishes nor those of the people of the book. Right? So you cannot, it is, nobody has, the Prophet does not have monopoly over revelation, nor does he cause to guide people, right? Can't guide people. Nor do the Jews and Christians have monopoly of the book, such that they should choose who or not has decided to be a prophet. Whoever commits evil be rewarded accordingly, and they will find no protector or helper besides Allah. But those who do good, whether male or female, and have faith will enter paradise and will never be wronged even as much as the speck of a date stone. And who is better in faith, right? So this point is the same thing as before. The Jews and the Christians seeing they have monopoly over faith, right? So now there's somebody who's neither a Jew nor a Christian. And so he's on the way of Saint Ibrahim. And who is better in faith than those who fully submit themselves to Allah? Excuse me. Do good and follow the way of Abraham, the upright. Allah chose Abraham as a close friend. And to Allah alone belongs whatsoever in the heavens and the earth, i.e., nobody has monopoly over faith. And whatever is on the earth, Allah is fully aware of everything. They ask you, O orphans, regarding women. Say, it is Allah who instructs you regarding them. Instruction has already been revealed in the book concerning the orphan women you deprive of their due rights, but still wish to marry. Also helpless children, as well as standing up for orphans' rights, and whatever good you do is certainly well known to Allah. If a woman fears indifference or neglect from her husband, there is no blame on either of them to seek fair settlement, which is best. What is this? This is called khula, right? Okay, this is called khula. So what is khula? Khula is a bilateral, not a unilateral agreement where the wife will pay the husband to divorce her. Okay? What's the difference between bilateral and unilateral? What's the difference between a bilateral agreement and a unilateral agreement? Good, right? So the guy says, I've decided that you're going to pay this much money for me to divorce you. She's like, oh, okay. I didn't know that. Is that valid? So can he force that on her? No. Okay, the other way around. She's decided that she wants out. And so she says, here you go. I've given you this money. There we go, done. And he doesn't agree. Could she just walk out like that? No, she can't, right? Now, again, there are creative means where you can do that, right? Again, we've spoken about this in other topics where we've said women who feel, for example, they can't commit, they can't, it's too intimidating to live with their husband. They want the right to be able to basically divorce themselves. There's ways you can do that. Okay, that's something else. But by default, it's not like that, right? The default, that's not the situation. Excuse me. So there is no blame on either of them to seek fair settlement, which is best, right? They say, listen, it's not working out, da 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 da. Humans are ever inclined to selfishness. But if they are gracious and mindful of Allah, surely Allah is aware of what you do. Right? Um, okay, you will never be able to maintain emotional justice between your wives. It's not possible, no matter how keen you are. So do not totally incline towards one, leaving the other in suspense, right? Basically, as one of my friends, he said, my main wife. I was like, what do you mean, my main wife? right? That's not acceptable. You can't have a main wife, right? You have to be you have to be fair, right? And if you do what is right and are mindful of Allah, have taqwa, fear Allah, surely Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is all forgiving and most merciful. But if they choose to separate, then Allah will enrich both of them from His bounties. And Allah is ever bountiful, all wise. Um, Now, here's a question. The ruling on divorce, right? Divorce, is it good or bad? Right? So there's a hadith in Sunan Abu Dawood. There's a hadith in Sunan Abu Dawood. Give me 1 second, please. Excuse me. Huh. There's a hadith in Sunan Abu Dawud which is weak, which mentions that it's a hadith this week that mentions the most hated of the halal to Allah is divorce. There's also another hadith which I think is more significant, which is that the shaitan, and I'm not sure if it's sahih or not. Maybe somebody can ask ChatGPT. Sheikh ChatGPT, is this hadith sahih or not? Um, by the way, does anybody use has anybody t tested ChatGPT with any fit questions? No. So I can imagine ChatGPT can yeah, okay. What did you find, Fahmi? Was it funny? So anyway, somebody asked ChatGPT about what do you do if it's if Eid al-Adha and Eid al-Adha and Eid al-Fitr occur on the same day? Like which prayer do you do first, right? So Eid al-Adha and Eid al-Fitr, which if they occur on the same day, which prayer would you do, right? Would you do salat? Do you do the Eid prayer for which one, right? And so the quote was like, the former Dhahib agree that Salat Eid al-Adha should be performed before Salat Eid al-Fitr, and that's because it's connected to the act of worship of Hajj and da 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 da, da, right? And so I told my son, my 10-year-old son, he's like, oh, that's stupid, right? Because obviously it's not going to happen on the same date, is it? So so when it comes to hadith, though, it's not going to be that bad, right? So even in the past, before AI, like 10, 15, 20 years ago, used to use hadith, hadith. So using a search engine for hadith is not the end of the world, right? Questions are very different, right? So anyway, the hadith in the other hadith, which is more significant, somebody can research it, is that the shaitan, he waits at the end of his day for reports. What did you do? Right? What did his shayateen do? So each shaitan comes to him and says, I did this. He's like, you've done nothing. He says, oh, I've done this and you've done nothing. Oh, I've done this and done nothing. And then one shaitan comes and said, well, I kept on at this man until he divorced his wife. Right? And so what does shaitan say to him? Ni'ma anta ant, what a wonderful you are. Right? So it isn't something that's fantastic, of course. However, as far as I know, there is nothing negative in the Quran at all about divorce, at all. In fact, it's all pretty positive. If you look at Surah Talaq, it seems pretty good. It says here, uh, so it says what? And if they choose to separate, Allah will enrich both of them for the bounties. So, okay, sounds pretty good, right? You know, it's quite interesting that, so most of the negativity in our minds, where does it come from? Culture, exactly, because hush, that would be bad, right? So it reminds me of this novel, The Return of the Native, right? Thomas Hardy. So in the beginning of the novel, there is a wedding, and the man doesn't turn up at the wedding. And so the woman is there. She's like, where's this guy? And the man doesn't turn up. And then the wedding's called off. And it's like really embarrassing. And then it's like a shame on her, right? So I remember just, I'm reading this as a kid in, in 20, in the 2000s. Like, why would that be embarrassing? You know? Like, why is it a shame on her that the groom didn't turn up? It's a bit odd. So that doesn't make any sense. So there's this kind of, I guess maybe back then it was like that was bad that he didn't turn up. I don't know what it meant, right? So, but most of it is, oh, it's a shame to the family, right? It's a shame to the family. So therefore it's bad, right? And so it shouldn't be treated lightly, of course, but it's not the negative way that we see it. It's not, it just doesn't have that kind of weight. Wallahu a'lam. So in short, basically, try. Try really, really, really hard, and then try really, 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 really hard, and then try really, 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 really hard. Do counseling, try other kind of counseling, another kind of counseling, and then move on, right? And honestly, after all of that, like it's still like, you know, continually not working out. Alhamdulillah, you don't actually, you know, have to be together. It's okay. Maybe it doesn't work out. It's not the end of the world. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Akbar, right? Allah is greater than these things. Excuse me. Right? But if they choose to separate, Allah will enrich both of them from His bounties, and Allah is ever bountiful and all wise. So, very positive. To Allah alone belongs whatsoever in the heavens and the earth, not your wife or your husband. Right? Oh my God, he's going to divorce me. Oh my God, we're over. It's like, she does not control the universe, and he does not control the universe. Indeed, we have commanded those given the scripture before you as well to be mindful of Allah. And this is reality that where does marriage go wrong is when Allah gets out of the picture. That's when it goes wrong. When people they don't see their spouse as a means to worship Allah. They see their spouse as a person. That's a problem. You just like you lost. It's an opportunity. This is an opportunity to worship Allah through this person. You don't see that anymore. You lose the big picture. So there's no taqwa anymore. You end up saying things you shouldn't say. Priorities are off, right? Khair. And if you disobey, then know that to Allah belongs whatsoever is in the heavens and whatsoever in the earth. Allah doesn't need you. And Allah is self-sufficient. He doesn't need you, and full of praise. He doesn't need your help. To Allah alone belongs whatsoever is in the heavens and whatsoever is on earth. And Allah is sufficient as a trustee of all affairs. If it is His will, He can remove you altogether, destroy you all, O humanity, and replace you with others. And Allah is most capable of doing so. And whoever desires the reward of this life, then let him know that with Allah are the reward of this life and the hereafter, and Allah is all hearing and all seeing. So inshallah, we'll stop here. My apologies for continually stopping and pausing, etc. and starting late today. I'm just not very well. Inshallah, we'll stop there. Wa sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam.